Hey, Tony here, and today I'm going to show you another capability or another new feature in the new waveSharp 3, the free image sharpening software. And in this quick look, I'll spend the next 6 or 7 minutes looking at local contrast enhancement. What it does is it allows you to change the contrast gradients in the luminance channel, either for the full image or using a split surface background approach. So with no further ado, I've already got my Saturn image is opened, and you may notice here that I've already done some sharpening of the image, and look at the other videos that we put together on this YouTube channel to see how we do that. And then I've got the chroma-denoise setting as well, an estimate filter setting also. So the first thing I'm going to do is there is the ability in waveSharp 3, I can go ahead and disable the background. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll see when I do that, a couple of moons appear. Actually, another one here, 3 moons I can see in this image, and potentially there's a 4th one here, very, very dim. But by disabling the background, it kind of gives me a view into potentially, what is available, potentially to do some local contrast enhancement on. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off this disabled background. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this one here, which is local contrast enhancement. And then I'm going to basically go ahead and I'm going to activate local contrast enhancement. And you see, as soon as I do that, I'm going to toggle, because that was a fairly quick thing that I did. Turned off. And then turned on. And as soon as I see that, you see a couple of moons appear in the image. So we're making some progress already. Now, some of the methods that you can use in this local contrast enhancement, I'm going to stick to what's referred to as Clahe. But there are other methods you can choose in here. I'm not going to dig into those today. I'm just going to keep it fairly simple for this quick look. And then basically what I'm going to do is I can now, if I want to, I can actually treat the planet and the background separately using a split capability. So when I do that, I'm going to click on here. And you can see when I do that, click on that split capability, excuse me. I'm going to toggle on and off here. And when I do that, you can see what it's doing. It's enhancing those moon images, but it's also enhancing the brightness of the rings as well. So it's not always easy to guess where the background surface is and where it isn't. And so one thing I can do here is if I click on Auto Edge, it's going to kind of assist me in determining where the edge of those rings are. And I'm going to dig into that in a few moments. We can see that the rings of Saturn are extremely bright. So they're sort of regarded as part of the background. And the feather setting here is setting the transition between that background and the planet's rings. So we can change that. So we can go ahead and we can first and foremost, we can uncheck this auto setting here. And then we can click on normalize the background. And you can see as soon as I do that, everything kind of brightens up. And we don't want that. But what I can do is I can set the edge here to try and isolate the rings. So I'm going to take this value down here. And I'm just on my mouse wheel here. And I'm just scrolling down. And you can see as I do that, I'm starting to isolate the rings away from the background. So I went down all the way to 1. Let me just bump it back up again to about 2. And now you can see actually there are 1, 2, 3, 4 moons that are evident in this image. I will say that when this image was created, that the video capture was taken during pretty average seeing conditions. Hence, you notice that these moons are kind of a little bit elongated, if you will. But anyway, we'll keep going so I can demonstrate some of this local contrast enhancement capability. And so I'm going to leave the the settings like this, but then I'm also going to go ahead. I'm going to increase the feather setting so we can see what impact does that have on the image. And now we're kind of isolating the transition, or we're making the transition between the planet and the background a little bit smoother and less visible. So a little bit more subtle. So we'll leave it at that for now. Now, if we remove this normalization setting here on the background, so it does a nice job of darkening the background, but the thing is we've lost the moons again. So that's kind of problematical. However, we can actually play around with the brightness and the gamma settings here in the background. So if I go ahead and maybe increase the brightness a little bit, let's take it up to, let's say about 130. You can see now the moons are starting to reappear. And then let's take up the gamma just a little bit as well. See, now the moons are starting to reappear. So this is actually a nice way to achieve kind of a balance between the background brightness. Now, what I will say is this is just one technique in waveSharp where you can start to expose the moons in your images. And you can see here, I've still got a little bit more background work that I would need to do. But I want to encourage you to take a look at the local contrast enhancement, play around with it for yourself. There are other mechanisms for people that do astro imaging. There's other tools you can use. There's Photoshop Affinity, GIMP as well, where you can kind of bring out the moons. But the nice thing about local contrast enhancement is it tends to kind of retain the color information for your moons. So that's it for today. Thank you for your time. If you get a chance to subscribe to this channel, I'd appreciate it. And I'll put in a link to the waveSharp 3 download as well in the description. Thank you very much.